Hey friends and everyone, welcome back to Netcode-Hub channel. I'm Frederick as always, and I'm glad to have you here today. In this video, we are going to talk about how to test repositories in Web API using the XUnit framework. But not that all, we'll be also spicing things up with the power of Fake-It-Easy and Fluent Assertion packages. I have already made a first video on how to test controllers. So if you haven't watched that video out, check the video description. You can have it in there. Imagine this scenario. You have a repository that manages data access of your application. You need to ensure it performs correctly without hitting the actual database, isn't it? That is where unit testing comes into play, providing you the confidence to know your code works as expected. So let's jump right into this and see how we can test repository using this unit of work. I have already a solution created, Web API project also added. Aside from that, I have XUnit project also added. So I have a solution with 2 projects. So to just brush through what we did in the previous video, in the Web API, we set up a database to be specific Web API. SQLite database. So in that, we install our packages from our application. These are the 3 packages that we got installed. Aside from that, we created our model, which is the user model. And aside from creating this model, what we did again was to create a DB contest. So we did that by creating a table as well. Aside from that, we register connection in the program.cs file. So this is what we did. We registered this. Then we created our repository, and now there's a repository which has the interface itself, and now the repository itself in here as well. That's the implementation. We did that, and we injected the AppDB contest, and we performed some CRUD operations in here. That is create, read, update, and now delete. So aside from us doing this, what we did again is to create a controller and now inject this repository. So we did that in the controllers folder. I have user controller, and in that we injected our interface. Then we started using the endpoint that we created. That is the create, read, update, and delete. This is a very simple thing that we did. The last thing to do here is register the interface in the program.cs file, perform database migration, and that is all. You're good to go. Now in this, we have the repository created already. So instead of us testing the controller, we did that in the previous video. So in this, we are going to test the repository. So in the user controller test 2, we injected our interface. We created an instance of our interface. Then we mocked our interface by creating a fake instance of it. We assigned it to what we have previously as a variable. Then we set up a suite, that is the system under test. And to be precise, that is the current user controller. That's what we're going to test. In that, we created fake user. Then, create what you're going to return. Created of 201. We made it happen. Also, we spoke about how to read all. And inside this is going to return OK. So we did the same thing in there. And now we have the get user. That's the get user by ID. We specify the ID as an inline attribute, and we came to the updates, and the last one is delete. That was our controller, and I could see from the assert section, we specify the type that it should return. That is status code, and also another verification that you want to do. It should not be null. It should not be null. As you can see, it cuts across all the sections. Okay. So this is what we did. Now in this, we're going to test our repository. Repository has access to our database, because that is where we inject our DB contest and start get connected to our database. This is what we're going to do. We're going to create a class for that. We're going to build a DB contest, whereby we're going to specify the database connection itself. Aside from that, we see if there's no data, we can add or we can seed it by adding maybe 1 or 2 records in it. After that, we now start to create our test. This is a very simple thing as well. So let's see. Now I'm going to create another folder here, and this is going to be repositories. So this repository. Now in that, let's create a class of this in the test project. And now here I'm going to say repository test. So repository. So since I am creating for user repository, that is what we created in here. So you want to actually repeat the same name and I'll add test to it. Now once you have this class created, what is the first thing that we're going to do? We first have to make this as public. Now we have our two packages installed. That is a Fake It Easy for mocking, and also we have our Fluent Assertion. So when you go to the test package, you can see the project. You can see we have the two packages in here, Fake It Easy and Fluent Assertions. Okay, so let's go back to our unit. Now where we're going to have our test. So the first thing that we're going to do here is you want to build up this test. How do you do it? We first have to build our database connection. So let's create a class in here to build that. Now you can see this is going to get database context. In that, you created a user-db context class in there, so you want to pass it on here. So at the end of the day, this function is going to return db context. Then you can see we are going to build it. We specify the database that you're using as an SQLite, and in that we specify connection strings in here. After that, you want to get a db set or that's the db context out of this by creating this new instance, and we may have to make sure that it gets created. So it is going to get the database created. If it is not going to get it created, aside from that, we want to check in case the table that we have as users, it has nothing, it has no record. We want to seed it by adding one record. Then we save it. Then at the end we return db context. So this is what we are doing. Now we want to have the section, or anytime that the app, this class gets called, we want to get this ready. And after this gets ready, we want to assign it to a variable in here. So in that, we can create a read-only private of this user repository on top here. Okay, then we can utilize the constructor. So anytime this class gets called, this constructor is going to execute in the first place. Now when it gets executed, let's call this method. So since we are calling this method in the constructor, we cannot pass in a wait. So we have to use the result. Now the result is going to come as user db context. Then this repository needs this user db context. So when you go to the user repository, let's see user repository, you can see it has this user db context. So when creating an instance here, you must specify that, and that's the reason why we need to execute the statement. Now once you have this method executed, we have the response here in the form of db context. Then we can now fix it in here and then go away. Alright, so now that we have this set, in here, and we are good to go. So we can start using this variable as soon as there's an object, as soon as this class gets called. Okay, let's first see for create. Now for create, what it's going to do? Create method is going to return bool. If we check this, check the user repository, now you see that is the create. At the end of the day, we are returning either true or false. You see, we are returning true or false in here because you're going to return boolean expression as a true or false. So in here, that's the same thing that we're going to do. Now we have to check. We create a fake user because before you create it, it needs a payload of user. So you have to specify it as an arrange section. Then when acting, we call the create async. We pass it on this fake user that we have created. Then we want to access the result. That is in the asset section. In that, we need to use Fluent Assertion. So we can have access to this should. And now we are saying that the results here should be true. So if everything works, this result should be true. Okay. Now once you have this, we can start trying this. How do you run this simple test? Click on test and I run all test. So we can run all test now. Then later on we can run only this test. Now to see this test is running, click on this text explorer. You can find that in the test. Then text explorer can be in here. Or let's say is it views? Okay, so that's the views. You have Test Explorer. You can just click on that. And now this is running. So currently we have 6 paths. You can see our repository is still in a process. Now let's wait so we can have a green light as indicated here. Now 1 pass, 1 not run. So which one? And it's still running. So let's wait and see. Yeah, so this has run, and I can see we have 6 paths. If I click on this, there is a repository. Now the first method or the first unit here, it is a create return true. So if you want to debug it, you can put a breakpoint in here, then go to our repo. Okay, so once you have that, what we're going to do here is we have this case. So we are testing our DB contest. Now let's see. So let's run that. Click on this again, and I go to debug. Let's see if this breakpoint will get hit. Then in our repo in here, we can put, that is create, we can put breakpoint here. If this also gets hit, put a breakpoint here. Now let's go back again. You can see this hit. Click on step in. Let's step in and see. So you create a fake user. That's the default user that we know. Aside from that, we're going to call this method. You can see this point is hit. Then we're going to add. So this is a payload. You have a fake user. It has email and name as null. And let's see. So click on this. Now return. What's the response here? We have 1, meaning it's greater than 0, and it's going to return true. So step in again. Now you can see we have the results here as true, and now here this is going to get what? Passed. So this means that our controller or this repository to add record or to add user record is working perfectly. Good. Now let's see the next one. So we're going to talk about how to read. So to read, or that's a read get users, and I get users is going to return users, because it's going to return a list of users. And now for the arrange, that's why you need to gather all your assets, which you're going to be using to act. But we need to get only one asset, and that is the user repository. But we've done that in the constructor, so you need not to specify it here. So that's the reason why the arrange section is blank. It has the content being fixed up in the constructor. Now you see here, so here we can go ahead and call this straight ahead, because here we need not to specify any parameter in it. And now the results type here should be type of user. There is a list, so all of them should have a type of user. You can also be an explicit. You can check the count should be greater than 0. You can do that. All that you need to do here is use result.should.be, then count should be greater than 0, or you can actually go beyond this. But for now, we put a breakpoint here, click on this, debug this, and now let's see if this is going to return data to us. Bear in mind that we added one data when database executed. That is when the database does not have any record. You want to add one. So by getting this, there's record in the database. Click on step in. So that's a step over. Yes, I always say step in. So step over. Now let's see. So we have the results in here. Now this is going to return 3 counts. Okay. Then in that we have the results. All types should be what? Of this type of user. Then that is all. Step over, and it's also what? Passed. If you check this test explorer, you see it also passed. 7 passed now. Now let's add the next one. If I want to read single, that is a get by ID. I can use the theory attribute to specify this, or I can use the arrange section. So here I'm using the theory. So if I specify theory, I need not to specify the fact. Now, after you specify theory, you have to specify the inline data. What is the parameter that is passing in? Let's say passing 2, and that's going to be the ID. So it's this method is going to return, or it's going to come in with this parameter, and this parameter can be retrieved from this inline data as value 2. Then you pass it on here, and after that you can return it. So the returned value should be type of for this user. Let's also run this and check it out. You can put a breakpoint, then debug this. The point is also hit. Step over. We have it to be, yes, we have the record in here. The ID of 2 is found. And now this method is going to get passed. So you can see testing a repo is very simple. When you have your interface and implementation created well, you can test it straight away and you're going to have all passed without hitting any error in it. Yes. Now let's see. We have last but 2. We have the update. Now for update, we have to make a call to the get data. After get the data, we need to assign or update the properties before we can update it or save changes. We are using 3. The ID that we want to grab here, let's maintain the ID of 2. Now this ID of 2, it has to return true after the update has been performed. Now we specify it as an ID in here. And now first of all, we want to get the ID. So we want to get it from the repository. After that, you want to at least update one of the properties. Then after that, we call this repository and update it, pass down this user in here. Bear in mind that this user property of name has been updated. And now we want to see the result should be true. Okay, because here you want to return true at the end. So as soon as you get through, it tells you that this test is running and it's working and our repo is also active. Good. As usual, breakpoint must be put. Then let's go for debug and let's check it out. Oh yeah, so it is hit. As usual, click on let's go to the next tab. Now you can see here we have the user found. And now this user has the name updated now because you see it just updated it. And now we're going to call this endpoint in our repo to update it. You pass it on this user. And now this result must be greater than 0 after process is saved. Let's see. So step over again. Yes, and now that is true. So we have true, and now this method or this test is also passed. Yes, so this passed. Good. Now last one is the delete. So we can conclude the CRUD operation. And this is going to be the delete. For delete, we need to specify an ID. I'm not using the theory or the inline data. I want to specify it under the arrange by populating my requirement, what I need for this. So these are the components that I'll be needing for the process. After I have this, I need to act. I call it delete async, passing on the ID. And now I have the result should be true because that's everything that I'm doing. The repository is only true. That's why I'm returning just a boolean value at the end. So that's the reason why I have only one result being checked up. Okay, as usual, breakpoint gets hit. Let's run this and check it out. So debug this. The point is now hit. Step over. So we have the ID of 3. Currently, do we have the ID of 3 in the database? Let's see. So yes, you have it. And now this has been deleted. So it should return true, and that's what we have. So this also passed. So as soon as you are done with this, you have all your tests passed. You have the green light for each of the tests that you have created. You can verify this also by going to the exact repository and now check. You can see if I go to the repository, create is passed, as you can see from here. Now delete also passed. Can you see this? Now also get or async is also passed. And all of them, you see passing. Yeah, so it tells you that they all have the green light. And now this is going to execute in a real production use, or even without a test, this is going to get you what's expected because you've tested it and you know what is coming out. So you can be rest assured and now give this code to people because you know what is going to give out at the end of the day. So that's a simple way to test your repository. All that you need to do here is to create a DB context. You have to inject your suit, that's the system, and under the test, specify them in there, and now you can go ahead and now start creating your fact or your test. Very simple. So in this video, you've seen how to effectively test repositories in a web API using the XUnit framework, Fake It Easy, and Influence assertion packages. So by following this approach, you can ensure your data access code is robust and error-free, saving you countless hours debugging issues in production. If you find this video helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more awesome content. Thanks for watching. Catch up again. Till then, take care.